I'm Brian Anderson. I help adults over 60 understand their body and protect their health using clear, evidence-based guidance. If you've noticed stiffer joints, weaker legs, or a gradual loss of strength, even though you feel like you're eating healthy, you're not imagining it. Today, we're going to talk about 6 very common foods that many people over 60 eat regularly, believing they're doing the right thing, but that can quietly worsen inflammation and accelerate muscle decline with age. This isn't about fear or cutting everything out. It's about understanding how the aging body processes food differently, why muscle becomes harder to maintain after 60, and which simple swaps can help you protect strength, balance, and mobility. By the end of this video, you'll know which foods to watch for, why they matter now more than ever, and how to support your muscles in a way that works with your body, not against it. Many people wake up one morning and realize something feels off. Their legs feel weaker climbing the stairs. Their joints feel stiff even after a full night's sleep. Simple movements take more effort than they used to. And what makes it more frustrating is that they believe they are doing everything right. They eat healthy. They avoid junk food. They choose low-fat, low-sugar, low-calorie options. They follow the advice they've heard for decades. Yet despite all of this, strength continues to fade. Muscle seems to shrink quietly. Energy feels harder to maintain. This leads many to assume the answer must be age itself. But for a large number of people over 60, that assumption is wrong. What's really happening is far quieter and far more deceptive. Certain foods that carry a strong health halo are silently driving inflammation and blocking the body's ability to rebuild muscle. They don't cause immediate pain. They don't feel indulgent or reckless. They feel responsible. But inside the body, they are turning down the very signal muscles need to stay strong. Today, we're going to expose 6 of these common healthy foods, explain exactly why they interfere with muscle repair, and show you simple, affordable swaps that help flip the body back into rebuilding mode. And later, you'll learn about one hidden ingredient that quietly blocks your muscle master switch, even when you eat enough protein. But first, it's important to understand what's actually happening inside your body after 60, so every change you make has a clear purpose rather than feeling like another rule to follow. As we age, muscle loss is not caused by laziness or lack of discipline. It's driven by biology. One of the biggest shifts that occurs after 60 is a rise in chronic, low-grade inflammation. This is not the dramatic inflammation you feel after an injury. It's subtle and persistent, like background static in the immune system. This inflammation interferes with muscle protein synthesis, the process by which your body turns protein into muscle tissue. In younger adults, eating protein reliably stimulates muscle building. In older adults, that same protein produces a much weaker response. This phenomenon is known as anabolic resistance. It means your muscles have become less sensitive to the signal that says, grow and repair. To overcome this resistance, the body needs a stronger and clearer signal. That signal comes from adequate protein, yes, but more specifically from an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is the key that turns on mTOR, the master switch that tells your muscles to start building. Without enough leucine, protein behaves like background noise. It's present, but it doesn't command attention. Many people eat enough total protein on paper, but still fail to reach the leucine threshold at meals, so muscle rebuilding never fully activates. Inflammation makes this problem worse. When inflammatory pathways are active, the body becomes less efficient at using nutrients. Insulin spikes caused by refined carbohydrates and sugars further blunt muscle response. Advanced glycation end products, formed when sugars bind to proteins under heat or during blood sugar spikes, damage tissues and amplify inflammation. Gut irritation caused by emulsifiers, gums, and artificial additives weakens the intestinal barrier, allowing immune activation that increases cytokines, which further suppress muscle protein synthesis. The microbiome plays a major role here. A disrupted gut environment leads to poor nutrient absorption and constant immune signaling, which diverts resources away from muscle repair. This is why simply eating more protein often doesn't work after 60. Timing, quality, and context matter. One quick win is spacing protein-rich meals about 3 to 4 hours apart and ensuring each meal contains a leucine-rich source such as dairy, eggs, fish, or soy. When protein arrives in clear pulses instead of a constant trickle, muscles respond more strongly. Now that you understand this mechanism, it becomes easier to see how certain foods quietly turn this signal down, even when they look healthy on the surface. One of the most common offenders is flavored low-fat yogurt cups. They're marketed as light, heart-healthy, and protein-rich, but many contain more sugar than dessert, along with gums and stabilizers that irritate the gut. When fat is removed, manufacturers compensate with sweetness and texture additives. The result is insulin swings that promote inflammation and appetite rebound. The gut irritation caused by carrageenan and other gums weakens nutrient absorption. The irony is that yogurt itself can be an excellent muscle-supporting food. The problem is the version most people buy. The swap is simple: plain Greek yogurt, either 2% or whole, topped with frozen berries, cinnamon, and crushed walnuts. This version delivers more leucine, steadier blood sugar, and anti-inflammatory polyphenol. Buying large tubs instead of single cups dramatically lowers cost, and store-brand frozen berries work just as well as fresh. The biggest mistake to avoid is turning this into a sugar bowl with honey, agave, or granola clusters made with seed oils. Once breakfast yogurt becomes a sugar trap, the same pattern often repeats with snack bars later in the day. Healthy granola and snack bars are another major culprit. They promise fiber, whole grains, and sustained energy, but often hide syrups, refined grains, and oxidized seed oils. These ingredients spike glucose and load the body with omega-6 fats that fuel inflammation. Emulsifiers and additives further disrupt the gut. A better option is making simple oat bites at home using rolled oats, peanut or almond butter, and chopped dates or prunes. Adding whey isolate or milk powder boosts leucine content, turning a snack into a muscle-supportive mini meal. Buying oats in bulk and freezing portions keeps costs low. Many protein bars sabotage progress with sugar alcohols that cause gastrointestinal distress, undermining training and appetite regulation. Once snacks are cleaned up, bread often becomes the next hidden obstacle. Commercial whole wheat bread is frequently misunderstood. Labels like 7-grain or multi-grain don't guarantee intact grains. Many loaves rely on refined flour, molasses coloring, vital wheat gluten, and dough conditioners that irritate the gut. These additives raise inflammation and destabilize blood sugar. True whole grain sourdough or sprouted grain bread, made with simple ingredients, produces a gentler glucose response and supports better nutrient use. Pairing bread with protein, such as eggs, tuna, or cottage cheese, improves the anabolic response. Bakery outlet stores and freezing sliced loaves make these options affordable. Bread eaten alone is the most common mistake, as it delivers glucose without the amino acids needed to turn meals into rebuilding opportunities. Bottled green juices and fruit blends feel clean and virtuous, but removing fiber changes everything. Without fiber, sugar enters the bloodstream rapidly, increasing glycation and inflammatory signaling that pushes the body toward muscle breakdown. No added sugar doesn't mean low sugar. The smarter swap is a blender smoothie using whole greens, a small portion of berries, Greek yogurt or kefir, and chia seeds. Fiber slows absorption, dairy or soy provides leucine, and chia adds omega-3s that counter inflammation. Frozen spinach and berries are inexpensive and convenient. The most damaging habit is daily juicing, which trains the body towards sugar spikes rather than metabolic stability. Even lean proteins can mislead. Deli turkey and ultra-processed meats contain nitrites, phosphates, fillers, and excessive sodium that stress cells and promote fluid imbalance. Many are formed meat gels rather than intact muscle tissue, providing poor satiety and weaker amino acid signaling. Roasting a whole chicken or turkey breast at home and slicing portions for the week delivers better nutrition and costs less per serving. Using bones for broth adds minerals and collagen. When deli meat is unavoidable, choosing minimal ingredient versions is essential. Finally, diet sodas and heavy artificial sweetener use represent the zero-calorie trap. Certain sweeteners alter gut microbes and impair glucose handling, increasing inflammation. Sweetness without calories confuses appetite regulation, leading to poor meal timing that undermines protein distribution. Swapping to sparkling water with citrus, unsweetened iced tea, or diluted kefir stabilizes appetite and supports the gut-muscle axis. Buying generic seltzer and brewing tea at home keeps this affordable. Drinking sweetened zero beverages around meals is a common mistake. Water before protein-rich meals improves nutrient use. Removing these triggers is only half the solution. Turning the muscle master switch on daily requires a practical rhythm. After 60, results depend less on intensity and more on consistency and timing. 3 to 4 protein-centered meals per day, each providing roughly 25 to 35 grams of protein from leucine-rich sources. Overcome anabolic resistance. A sample day might include a Greek yogurt bowl for breakfast, chicken with sprouted bread at lunch, and salmon with beans at dinner. Collagen paired with vitamin C supports connective tissue, omega-3s reduce inflammation, and magnesium-rich greens aid recovery. A simple 5-minute routine, sit-to-stands, wall push-ups, heel raises, band rows, and marching in place, stimulates muscle sensitivity. Doing this routine before a protein meal enhances the anabolic response. Grazing on small protein amounts throughout the day is one of the biggest mistakes. Clear anchors spaced 3 to 4 hours apart work better. The takeaway is simple but powerful. Muscle loss after 60 is not inevitable, and it's not corrected by chasing more healthy labels. By removing 6 common traps and anchoring each meal with leucine-rich protein, you can overcome anabolic resistance and rebuild strength without expensive supplements or extreme routines. Start with one swap this week. Observe how your body responds. And remember, when muscles feel supported, everything else, from balance to energy to independence, follows. When people begin applying these changes, what often surprises them is not how difficult the process feels, but how subtle and steady the improvements are. There is no dramatic overnight transformation, no sudden surge of strength that feels artificial or forced. Instead, the body responds the way it was always designed to respond when it finally receives clear, usable signals. Movements begin to feel more coordinated. Standing up from a chair requires less momentum. Stairs feel less intimidating. Grip strength improves quietly, noticed first in everyday tasks like opening jars or carrying groceries. These changes are easy to dismiss at first, but over weeks and months, they accumulate into something meaningful, restored confidence in the body. One of the most important shifts that occurs during this process is a change in how effort feels. Before, many people feel as though they are constantly pushing uphill. They eat carefully, try to stay active, yet feel as though their body resists improvement. This resistance is not psychological, it is metabolic. When inflammation is high and anabolic signaling is muted, effort yields little return. But once inflammatory triggers are reduced and protein signals are clarified, effort begins to translate into results again. The same 5-minute routine that once felt exhausting starts to feel manageable. Recovery improves. Soreness resolves more quickly. The body begins cooperating instead of resisting. This is where consistency becomes far more important than intensity. Many people believe muscle rebuilding requires long workouts, heavy weights, or extreme discipline. After 60, the opposite is often true. The body responds best to regular, moderate stimulation paired with adequate recovery and nutrition. Muscles need a reason to grow, but they also need the biological permission to do so. That permission is granted when inflammation is controlled, blood sugar is stable, the gut is calm, and leucine-rich protein arrives in clear pulses. When these conditions are met, even small amounts of resistance training become effective. Another quiet benefit emerges at this stage: appetite regulation improves. When meals are anchored with protein and fat instead of sugar and refined carbohydrates, hunger signals become more predictable. Cravings diminish. Energy no longer spikes and crashes throughout the day. This stability makes it easier to maintain consistent eating patterns without willpower or restriction. Many people find they naturally eat less processed food simply because they no longer crave it. The body stops asking for quick energy when it is properly fueled. Sleep quality often improves as well. Stable blood sugar and reduced inflammation support deeper, more restorative sleep. Muscles repair more efficiently overnight. Morning stiffness decreases. People begin waking with a sense of readiness rather than fatigue. This creates a positive feedback loop. Better sleep supports better muscle repair, which supports better mobility, which encourages continued movement. It is important to acknowledge that progress is not always linear. There will be days when energy feels lower, when joints feel stiff, when motivation dips. This is normal. The goal is not perfection, but direction. Each meal anchored with protein, each inflammatory trigger removed, each short movement session completed reinforces the body's rebuilding signal. Over time, these signals outweigh the noise. Social and cultural pressures can complicate this process. Many foods that undermine muscle health are deeply normalized. Snack bars are seen as responsible choices. Juices are marketed as detoxifying. Low-fat products are framed as heart-healthy. Questioning these narratives can feel uncomfortable, but understanding the underlying biology reframes the conversation. These foods are not bad in a moral sense. They are simply mismatched to the needs of an aging body. Choosing differently is not rebellion, it is adaptation. Financial concerns often arise as well. There is a common assumption that eating for muscle health requires expensive supplements, specialty foods, or boutique products. In reality, the opposite is true. Whole foods like eggs, yogurt, oats, chicken, beans, frozen vegetables, and canned fish are among the most affordable options available. Removing processed snacks and beverages often reduces grocery costs rather than increasing them. The most expensive foods in the store are frequently the least supportive. Another misconception worth addressing is the fear of protein harming the kidneys. For healthy individuals, adequate protein intake is not only safe but protective, supporting muscle mass that stabilizes blood sugar, reduces fall risk, and improves overall metabolic health. Those with existing kidney disease should, of course, follow medical guidance. But for the majority of people over 60, insufficient protein poses a greater risk than adequate intake. As strength improves, posture often changes subtly. Muscles that support the spine and hips become more engaged. Balance improves. The risk of falls decreases. These outcomes have far-reaching implications beyond physical appearance or athletic performance. They influence independence, confidence, and quality of life. Muscle is not vanity tissue, it is protective tissue. One of the most powerful realizations people have during this process is that decline was never inevitable. It was conditional. It depended on signals the body was receiving, signals shaped by food choices, timing, and environment. Once those signals change, the trajectory changes as well. Aging continues, but it no longer feels like a steady loss. It becomes a process of maintenance and even quiet rebuilding. The hidden ingredient mentioned earlier, the one that blocks the muscle master switch, is not exotic or mysterious. It is excess refined sugar, particularly when paired with inflammation-promoting fats and additives. Sugar interferes with leucine signaling, increases glycation, and diverts resources away from muscle repair. Removing it does not require elimination of all sweetness, but it does require awareness of how often it appears in foods marketed as healthy. Once this ingredient is reduced, the master switch becomes easier to activate. At this point, many people ask how long it takes to see meaningful change. While individual responses vary, improvements in strength and energy often appear within weeks. Visible muscle changes may take months, but the most important marker is not appearance, it is function. When daily tasks feel easier, when recovery improves, when confidence returns, the process is working. The final step is sustaining momentum. This does not require constant vigilance. It requires a few non-negotiables: protein at each meal, minimal ultra-processed foods, regular gentle resistance, and respect for recovery. Everything else is flexible. Meals can vary. Preferences can change. Life can intervene. The foundation remains. In closing, muscle health after 60 is not about fighting age. It is about understanding it. The body's needs change, but its capacity to adapt remains. By removing 6 common healthy traps and replacing them with supportive, affordable choices, you give your muscles permission to respond again. Strength becomes something you maintain, not something you chase. And with that strength comes resilience, the ability to move through life with greater ease, stability, and confidence. If this approach resonated with you, start with one change this week. Choose one food to swap. Anchor one meal with protein. Add one 5-minute movement session. Let the results guide the next step. And remember, progress after 60 is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and deeply empowering.